For over 30 years, both Rangers and Celtic have had a monopoly on the Scottish title in the Scottish Premier Division. The last team to win it other than those two sides was Aberdeen in 1984-85 season. Can we get Aberdeen back to the top of the table again? We've got 3 seasons or less to do it. Welcome to Reputation Rebuild. Welcome to Aberdeen, everybody. If you've been joining me for my Chinese adventures, you'll know that was really very tricky in the end. I won't spoil how it exactly went for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it was a really hard series to go through. I'm not expecting this one to be much better. Now, at the time of recording, at the very beginning of the game, Aberdeen are due to finish in 3rd position in the Scottish League. So it's the Scottish Premiership. We can see if we go and have a look, at the season preview, Aberdeen are due to finish in 3rd position. So we've got a reasonable squad, although going through it, there are some big gaps there that we need to figure out. Celtic and Rangers are above us in the pecking order, of course. Hibernian just behind us, and then the rest of the Scottish Premiership. So we're going to be in for a bit of a challenge to get Aberdeen above both Celtic and Rangers in the next few seasons. But we're going to give it as good a go as possible. You can see in the media Dream 11, no other side other than Rangers and Celtic have got any players in it whatsoever. That's going to be even harder to change, I think, over the next couple of seasons. But we're going to give it a go. What I would say is at the very beginning of this game, I don't know Aberdeen particularly well. It's not a team that I've played with before. The Scottish Premiership is not really a league that I've played in much before. So it's all going to be a bit of a new learning experience. So any fans of Aberdeen out there, or anybody that's played in the Scottish leagues and know a little bit more than I do, let me know what you think in the comments below about how I should improve this Aberdeen side, what I should be looking to do to move this club forward over the next couple of seasons. It's going to be tricky though. What I would say is that we've come a cropper a little bit through an injury, a bad injury that we'll get to in a second, and also the recruitment and some of the club decisions before I got here, not necessarily the best. Let's go and investigate some of those. So if we go into the squad, you can see that we're going to play a 4-3-3 formation. Aberdeen suggested they wanted to play a 3-5-2 sort of, or 3-6-1 or something. And the problem with that is that in the club, they've only got 3 fit central defenders at the moment because Mikey Devlin is out for quite some time, the next 2 to 4 months. And he was going to be one that you would play if you had to play 3 central defenders, I guess. So that kind of scuppered us a little bit. The other thing that's happened in the meantime since I've been here is that Joe Lewis, our number 1 goalkeeper, is now out of action for the next couple of months at least. 2 to 3 months is the thought on a hip injury. And that is a real blow because he's a decent goalkeeper. So he is now out of action for that period of time as well. The third thing that causes us problems is that since the beginning of the game, the overall balance of the club is respectable enough, a few £1 million in the bank. But this 0 transfer budget is how I found the club in the first place. No transfer budget, very small amount of wages, a couple of grand in the pot. We've got rid of a couple of very periphery reserve players out on loan, so that's put some more in the wage kitty a little bit. All of it's meant that I've been trying to get some loan players in, some free transfers in, and so far only one has actually crossed the line and come into the club. We've lost loads of players on free transfers to other clubs that they would prefer to go and play for instead. And some of the loan deals that clubs were asking for their players, we just could not afford in terms of extra payments and other bits and pieces. So it's been a very tricky first transfer window. If we go and have a look briefly in the transfers, in the transfer history, Most of this stuff was done before I got here. The only person that I have brought into the club is this guy, Dabo. And he comes in as a rotating option as a holding midfield player in that central point of the three that we play in midfield. He's not amazing, is he, particularly? But to be honest, this is kind of a bit of an upgrade on what I found at the club already. The choices in terms of who to bring into the club have been really, really strange at times. They've made some good decisions. They brought in Ross McCrory from Rangers, who I think is a decent central midfield player, can cover a couple of other positions as well. So he's come into the club. But then we've got the likes of Johnny Hayes, who's come in from Celtic as a left-sided player. He's going to be playing as a left-sided full-back, come wing-back occasionally for me in various formations if we need to use them. But you can see that whilst he's got some good attributes in terms of good determination, good work rate, good pace, good acceleration, the tackling isn't particularly strong, and there's some big gaps here. And that's the type of player that we're looking at. And considering what Rangers and Celtic have both got in their arsenal to use, you can see why they're so far ahead of a lot of the other teams around. So there are some good players at Aberdeen, but with all due respect to any fans out there, I think there is also a lot of deadwood as well that we're going to have to figure out. And the other decision that I think is absolutely incredible, and I really do genuinely want an answer to this from any fans out there as to why this has happened, when we are so low on the ground for right fullbacks or right wing backs, whichever one you want to use, why on earth is this guy loaned out of the club? He's at Atlanta United on loan for the season. Why has he been loaned out? What is it about him that meant that Aberdeen decided this was the right course of action? I'm now having to go into the free transfer market to find a second right back for the club when we've got a perfectly good one on our books. What on earth has gone on there? So really, really weird decisions by the club in my mind to how they've got to this point. But the suggestion is that we're still supposed to finish third. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I really hope we can manage it and sort of get some inroads into understanding how we can move this club forward. So in the first season, it's all about the free transfers and the loan players. We've brought one in on loan already. I've got one more hopefully coming in at right fullback on a free transfer, but that's not done yet. So we'll have to see if we can get that across the line. And then hopefully we can hold our own enough this season to get a better transfer budget and wage budget for next season to move us forward a little bit. That's going to be the plan of action. But look at the start that we've got as well. If we go into the fixture list, you can see that we've got Rangers and Celtic in the first 3 games. Hibernian not too far after that either. So it's going to be a really very tricky start with a club that's got a few holes in it in terms of the player personnel and has now got a couple of key injured players as well. It doesn't get any easier, this Football Manager lark, does it? But anyway, 3 seasons trying to rebuild the reputation of Aberdeen, trying to put them back on the top of the Premiership in Scotland. Can we do it? Well, the first game comes now, and it's a biggie against Rangers. So in terms of the match tactics that we're going to be using, the pre-match tactics, obviously we've got some injuries, which is a problem. I've gone for the 4-3-3 formation, primarily because I think it fits roughly what we've got in the best way possible. And the thing that's identified most in terms of how we're going to play are our 3 strikers on the books. What we have is we've got Cambery, Florian Cambery, and he is Swiss. And he is one of our strikers. Now, he's only got a 12 of finishing and 11 of composure, but his heading is 14, his strength is 15, his jumping reach is 14. At 6'2", he's going to basically play as a target man for us, and he's going to have to bring other people into play. And if we go and have a look at the other 2 that we've got, Hornby is another striking option. Again, not brilliant finishing, not brilliant composure, but heading is strong, strength is strong, jumping reach is strong, 6'5", another good target man. So that's the third of our three, and the fourth of our three is Callum Hendry at 22 years old. He's got a little bit more finishing, but his composure is utterly dreadful. His heading is average, decent determination, good work rate. This guy is going to be a little bit more pressing for us rather than target man. But we have not got a clinical finisher amongst them. So we're going to have to work around that. So we are going to use the Route 1, the custom Route 1. I've gone in there and changed a few things that we'll look at in a second. And the whole idea of this is to try and get this guy the ball supported by the wide men and get a couple of these guys in, specifically Ferguson, who will be a box-to-box midfielder, supporting the play where we can. And the key to it is out of possession. We are going to lower the front line and bring our striker into this sort of midfield area. And that is the first long ball Route 1 that we're going to play in. So it's going to be deep. And then he's going to have the opportunity to draw defenders in with him. And then round the outside of him, potentially, or through the middle, we've got hopeful runners from the ball. Now, this is going to take a while to figure this all out, especially this midfield three and how they're supporting the play. But that's how I've chosen to do it just for now to get going with this particular group of players. They are not fantastic. I'm kind of surprised at how slightly poor some of these players are. But there we go. This is what we've got. So we're going in with a cautious mentality. We're not going to be piling forward too much until we've got the ball a little bit. I'm not going to go through all the details. You can see what we're going to be playing here, but we've got some early crosses coming in for the point where we are further up the pitch and we can get those fullbacks and those wingers trying to get the target man a couple of decent headers in the box. So that's one thing that we've got going for us. We're being a bit more disciplined, a bit more direct on the passing, a standard tempo, a bit more time wasting occasionally. We've got to use everything that we can in transition, regrouping when we've lost the ball, not particularly going gung-ho when we've regained the ball, working up the pitch into that front man and then on from there, distributing to the target man. And then, of course, as we've seen, a standard defensive line because we don't have a huge amount of pace at the back, and a lower attacking line just to keep us more compact and working together to get the ball up the pitch. That is the plan. It may fall flat on its face, and within 2 games I've changed everything. Nothing is written in stone, but that's certainly how we're going to be starting this particular series. You can see that we've got a couple of fitness issues in and around even the bench today. That's because we've got not too many options, really. As I say, only one right-sided fullback at the moment in the squad, which is really disappointing. But there is hopefully one on the way. We'll have to wait and see on that. But why did they get rid of that good fullback? I don't understand. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, for today's game against Rangers, in the setup that we've gone through in the Route 1, in the 4-3-3, we're going to play Woods in goal, Logan at right back, Hayes at left back, Hobben and Considine in central defence, Ferguson, McCrory and Vitinen in central midfield, Hedges on the right, Kennedy on the left and Cambery up top, with a bench of Taylor, Lee, Magooch, yep, Dabu, Campbell, McLennan, McGinn, Hornby and Hendry. And we're going to have to get used to these players again. But that's the setup for today. Rangers are the opposition. Let's see how we get on. So I've simply asked the players to go out there and impress me on this first day of the new season. We're just going to let the pre-match stuff go through and then pause the game momentarily just to make sure my settings are right. They are TV. This will show you what I use. TV camera on, behind the goal for replays. We've got the height all the way to the left, the zoom all the way to the right. We're 2 up from the middle in terms of the match speed, and we're on key highlights. That's where we're going in this particular series. So let's see how we get on. If we can hold our own against Rangers and Celtic in the first couple of games of the season, that bodes really well, but it's going to be very difficult to do. They are, at this moment, quite a way in advance of us, I would suggest, in terms of their player personnel. It's just about on any given day, anything can happen. And we can certainly, hopefully, be a bit competitive with them if possible. You can see that so far in this particular match, half hour gone, not a lot has happened. We've only had the one shot at goal and it wasn't on target. Rangers have had a couple more than that, but no worthy of highlights just at this point. And we get through to half time having nothing happened particularly, which I kind of think at this point isn't too bad for us, really. You can see we picked up a yellow card. Possession is down, but we'd expect that in the Route 1 style of play. Passing completion's really strong, though. That is possibly the worst XG rating after a half of football I think I've seen on the game. A 0.05 XG rating, expected goals ratio, for a first half of football is fairly dreadful off that one shot that was off target. So we go into the dressing room. Let's go with hands together. Let's go with, I'm happy with the performance so far. Keep it up. Because kind of I am, roundabout way, really. This is against the league favourites in Rangers this season. And here is the first opportunity for an attack for Rangers on a highlight. They've worked it to the right-hand side, dropped it in, and there's Hadji with a really good strike into the roof of the net from inside the penalty box. And we were caught a little bit out, weren't we? It was originally down that left-hand side. They switched the play really well. The space opened up a little bit. The run from Tavernier drops it back into Hadji, who blasts it at that near post. And it's a little bit disappointing that the goalkeeper got beat at that near post. But remember, this is not who I was expecting to have in goal for this particular opening game of the season. We have lost our number one goalkeeper, and for quite a while. It's a really unfortunate situation to be in. Sorry if you can see any of the pattern coming through onto the game from the background of this particular skin. That happens with this skin occasionally. I might have to potentially change it if it continues to do it. And there is a second goal for Rangers. And the first half that went kind of with no major incident hasn't really continued into this second half. Again, Tavernier this time with a near post cross, and it's Morelos who gets ahead of the defender and heads the ball home for 2-0. We've still only had that one shot at goal that was not on target, so we're going to have to change it up here. What we're going to do, we're going to go into a 4-4-2. So I'm going to take out one of our central midfield players, and it's going to be... Which one am I going to take out? Let's take out Virtanen, and we're going to put Hornby on instead. And then we're going to move Hornby up into a more striker role alongside our current guy, Cambery. And just see if we can get those working. So he's the target man. We'll play him as a deep lying forward because he can play in that attacking midfield role slightly as well. We'll just move McCrory over and fill up the 4-2-2-2, I guess. 4-2-2-2. Yeah. Whichever way you want to do it. 4-4-2, 4-2-2-2. And we are just going to go out of the cautious into positive and keep with that Route 1 and see how we get on for a couple of minutes before making a couple more personnel changes. 70 minutes gone, and this is, at least we got a shot on target. It wasn't good enough to have a look at, but we did get a shot on target. 78 minutes. We're going to pause the game again just before there's another Rangers, probably another Rangers goal. And we're just going to see if we can make a couple more personnel changes just to help the side stay a little bit fit and healthy early in the season. So we've got nothing much happening in midfield. Hedges on the right is not looking great. So if we take him out and put McLennan, on the right-hand side, he'll play out there. And then we'll make a defensive change as well, I think, just to give everybody a bit of a game. So we've got, what are we going to do? Let's take Hobben out and put Taylor in just for the last bit of the game as well. Just getting used to the players, really, putting them all out there to see what they can do, what they're capable of. And it seems that what they're capable of at the moment is not quite being able to match up brilliantly all the way through a match of 90 minutes with Rangers. But There was a chance then to get a decent attempt at goal, and we didn't quite make it. And they've got a chance to counter-attack on us now, and they've swept it out wide right again to Hadji. Cross comes in. We get a good headed clearance on it on that occasion. Tavernier takes over and drops it into midfield. And they're keeping the ball pretty well, which is kind of unfortunate for us, really. And then the through ball, yeah. So as soon as we get our goalkeeper back, it will be a really good thing, won't it? That was fairly dreadful goalkeeping. Came out into absolute no man's land. Didn't commit to coming and getting the ball. Just got caught out completely by the ball through. And Morelos nips in behind him as he was completely stranded and taps the ball in the back of the net for 3-0. Yeah, let's proceed with the changes since the goal. Why not? There's not much else we can do about it at this point. I think it's going to be really tricky over the next couple of seasons to turn this around into something that can make Aberdeen win the title again. But we're certainly going to give it a go. I'm desperate to just try and get through to another proper summer transfer window, really, and see if we can work some magic. It's not happened in this one particularly. And the first day of the season is showing that. I was really surprised. I must say, I'm really surprised as to how poor a side Aberdeen do actually have in terms of the attribute numbers that are in the club. I know that Rangers and Celtic are both way ahead of everybody in Scotland, but they are way ahead. And it's going to take some turnaround. And again, a good goal here. Oh, no, it was offside. We're going to get one taken off them, which is good for us, I guess, ultimately. Did they not take it off them? I thought that was offside and it was given anyway, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, 4-0. Welcome to Scotland, everybody. If you thought the Chinese one was bad. This is going to be interesting, isn't it? In theory, this is a squad capable of finishing in third position. If we do not manage that, we might not see season 2. Who knows? So we've got to up our game quite considerably. Now, what you would say is that they didn't absolutely bombard us with tons of shots. They were just really clinical with the ones they did do. So it wasn't that in terms of the numbers we got absolutely trounced, other than the scoreline, really. We just didn't create enough ourselves and put enough of our own stamp on the game. And that is all sorts of reasons, through the style of choice of how we're playing against some of the big guys. We might have to change that up. Whether we're playing the right system and the right setup, the right players, all of that I'm going to have to get to used to over the next few matches just to see what I can come up with. So at the moment, I'm not surprised. I'm not particularly worried, but it's not a very good start, is it really? So, just to round off this slightly disappointing start in a very, very tricky situation that we find ourselves in, really, trying to get past Celtic and Rangers, let's see what we're going to come back to. And what we're going to come back to is we're going to come back and play Hibernian, just because they're the next rivals to us in terms of for our third position spot, in theory, in the media predicted league table. So we're going to come back and see how we can compete against them and see if we can get one over on them early and set ourselves up properly. In between time, I've got Celtic to play. I've got a number of other teams in the Scottish Premiership. We've also got the first qualifying round of the Euro Cup as well. I kind of wouldn't be too disappointed not to be in that for too long, really, this time round. I think we need to chuck all our eggs in the Premiership basket and see if we can do something to get us into the position that's expected of us from the board, really. But of course, if we get a chance to go through, we'll take it. Anyway, all of that is still to come. We've got loads more games to play this season against some interesting opposition that we'll get to know as we go through. First off, though, Rangers, they were too strong for us. 4-0 defeat puts us smack bang bottom of the table after the first game week. Yeah, welcome to the Scottish Premiership. Tricky, tricky stuff. Hibernia next. Thank you for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. Help a new series to get off to a good start. Until next time, where we'll hopefully be doing a little bit better than you can see here. Thanks very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.